I think that's one of the most important things to do is to maintain hope. I think when you've got a chronic condition or when you've got something, you say, for example, over the acute infection, and yet we're hearing so much about people, we hear about brain fog, we hear about depression, we hear about anxiety, we hear about weakness. They wonder months later, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? I think there's really a lot of reason to be hopeful, hang in there, to be good to yourself, to realize that, it's almost like if you had a broken limb, you couldn't recover the next day. You need rehab. Sometimes it takes a long time, etc. But hopefully, with the right treatment and care, you can eventually get there. So I think maintaining hope, if you're struggling with a mental illness, getting the treatment and care you deserve and need is very important. Recognize that you're not in this fight alone. Coming back to the other question you said, I think we're learning so much more. Anytime you have this new condition like COVID, it took us a while to learn about it, but now we're learning, and I think most of the data suggests that with COVID-19, while there's some data that the virus itself might, through the nasal passage, infect nerve cells, most of the data suggests that it's not the virus itself that's, infecting the nerve cells. Rather, it's the consequences of the virus. And certainly, if you have the pneumonia, you don't have enough oxygenation to the brain, there's a problem with excessive blood clots, but arguably the most important factor seems to be the immune response. So one of the ways we deal with infections is we turn on this immune system, but it looks like when you excessively turn on the immune system, it can have all kinds of damaging effects. And in particular, there's one of these immune factors called IL-6, which has actually been linked to depression. And we actually did a study when we lowered IL-6, we could show that what's known as anhedonia, which is, the inability to experience pleasure, was improved. So I think we're learning a lot about what might be contributing to the long haulers. And the last thing I'll mention is that the other thing that might turn out to be true, you may have, read that there are some people who seem to have what looks like schizophrenia, but actually they have what's known as an autoimmune disease. So, a condition like MS is an autoimmune disease where you make antibodies, which are attacking part of your nerve cells. It looks like in some cases, people make these antibodies which attack certain receptors called NMDA receptors. And people are speculating that the small percentage of people who develop a psychotic episode after COVID, maybe this is an autoimmune condition. So there's still more research to be done. But I think getting back to your question of hope, I think what people need to recognize is a lot of work being done, and hopefully we'll really understand what the underpinnings are and can provide people with even better treatment and care. And the main message is remain hopeful and make sure you look after yourself and your loved ones.